When Margaret Brennan drove away from her Ohio home that August morning, no one could have predicted she'd never be seen again. The 82-year-old retired teacher had simply vanished on her way to a routine doctor's appointment, leaving no trace behind. But then, 8 months later, a logging crew's shocking discovery in the woods shattered every theory about her disappearance and revealed the sinister truth everyone had missed. Daniel Brennan was reviewing contracts at his dining room table when his phone rang. The number on the display showed a blocked caller ID, which he almost ignored. Too many spam calls these days. But something made him answer on the fourth ring. "Mr. Brennan, this is Special Agent Patricia Chun with the FBI. I'm calling about your mother, Margaret Brennan." The coffee mug in Daniel's hand trembled. It had been 8 months since his mother vanished without a trace, and the calls had long since stopped. The local police had essentially given up, classifying it as a voluntary disappearance. An elderly woman, recently depressed after her best friend's death, no signs of struggle. Their assumptions had been clear. "What about her?" Daniel's voice came out. "Sir, I need you to come to Blackwood National Forest. A logging company made a discovery this morning that we believe is connected to your mother's case. Are you able to drive here now?" "Is she?" He couldn't finish the question. "We found her vehicle, Mr. Brennan. I'd prefer to discuss the details in person. Can you meet us at the ranger station off Route 47? Daniel was already grabbing his keys. "I'll be there in 40 minutes. The drive to Blackwood felt both endless and too quick. His hands gripped the steering wheel as his mind raced. They'd found the car. After 8 months of nothing, no credit card activity, no phone pings, no sightings, they'd finally found something. The ranger station parking lot was crowded with official vehicles, FBI sedans, local police cruisers, and a crime scene van that made Daniel's stomach clench. Agent Chin met him at the entrance, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a professional demeanor that somehow conveyed sympathy. "Mr. Brennan, thank you for coming. I know this is difficult." She gestured toward an FBI SUV. "The site is about 3 miles up an old logging road. I'll drive us there and explain what we know." As they bumped along the rough forest road, Agent Chin filled him in. A logging company was surveying for a new access road when they discovered a vehicle buried under what appeared to be a landslide. When they started to clear it, they realized the debris wasn't natural. "What do you mean, not natural?" "The logs and debris were arranged deliberately, Mr. Brennan. Someone went to significant effort to conceal this vehicle. When the crew saw it was a car underneath, they immediately called us. They rounded a bend and Daniel saw the scene. Yellow tape cordoned off a section of forest where massive logs had been pulled aside. FBI technicians in protective gear worked methodically around a red sedan that sat partially buried in mud. Even from a distance, even caked with dirt and damaged by months of exposure, Daniel recognized his mother's 2018 Toyota Camry. His legs felt weak as he exited the SUV. That morning, 8 months ago, rushed back with painful clarity. He'd stopped by her house for their regular Tuesday breakfast, but she was already preparing to leave. "Doctor's appointment," she'd said, gathering her purse. "Just routine blood work. These old bones need more maintenance than they used to." He'd offered to drive her, but she'd waved him off. "Don't be silly. It's a beautiful morning, and I need to stop at the pharmacy afterward." She'd been wearing her favorite cardigan, the charcoal one he'd given her for Christmas, over a bright pink shirt, always a splash of color. Their neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, had seen her loading Molly, her small black terrier, into the car around 10 a.m. Margaret had called the doctor's office at 10:15 to say she'd be running late due to construction on Maple Street. The receptionist remembered the call clearly because Margaret had been so apologetic. She never arrived. Molly was found that evening wandering near the house, suggesting Margaret had either returned briefly or let the dog out somewhere nearby, but Margaret herself had vanished completely along with her car, as if the earth had swallowed them both. Now, staring at the mud-caked vehicle being photographed from every angle, Daniel understood that's essentially what had happened. Someone had tried to make his mother's car disappear into the forest floor. "Mr. Brennan," Agent Chin said gently, leading him closer to a table where evidence bags were laid out. "We've recovered several personal items from the scene. I need you to identify them if you can." The first bag contained a leather purse, water-damaged but unmistakably his mother's. The Coach bag he and his wife Rebecca had given her for her 80th birthday. Inside was her wallet, still containing her driver's license. Margaret Brennan's face smiled back at him from the small photo, frozen in time. The second bag held jewelry, a gold watch with a stretchy band that she wore every day, her wedding rings, and a small gold necklace with a world's best grandma pendant, though Daniel and Rebecca had never been able to give her grandchildren. "This is all hers," Daniel confirmed, his voice thick. "But I don't understand why here. This is 20 miles from town, nowhere near the doctor's office or any route she would have taken." Agent Chen's expression was grim. "That's what we're investigating, Mr. Brennan. The concealment, the location, the deliberate nature of how the vehicle was hidden. None of this is consistent with an accident or a voluntary disappearance. We're treating this as a crime scene." Daniel stared at the ruined car, at the massive logs that had hidden it for 8 months, at the evidence of his mother's last moments laid out on a folding table in the middle of the forest. Someone had done this. Someone had taken his mother and gone to extraordinary lengths to hide what they'd done. "What happens now?" he asked. "We continue processing the scene. We'll need a full statement from you about that last morning. Any concerns your mother might have mentioned, anyone who might have wished her harm." Chen paused. "And Mr. Brennan, I have to ask, is there anyone you can think of who had access to your mother's daily routine? Someone who would have known she'd be alone that morning?" The question hung in the air as Daniel watched technicians carefully document every detail of his mother's hidden grave. Daniel sat in his mother's kitchen, the familiar space feeling hollow without her presence. He'd been here countless times over the past 8 months, maintaining the house, collecting mail, ensuring everything stayed in order for when she returned. Now, knowing her car had been hidden in the forest all this time, the house felt like a crime scene itself. He pulled out her desk calendar, the one she religiously maintained despite his attempts to get her to use a smartphone. August 15th, 8 months ago, showed her neat handwriting. "Dr. Morrison, 10:30 a.m. blood work." Nothing unusual, nothing to indicate it would be her last entry. The doorbell interrupted his thoughts. Through the front window, he saw Mrs. Patterson from next door holding a casserole dish, the universal suburban response to tragedy. "Daniel, I saw you were here," she said when he opened the door. "I heard about what they found. I'm so sorry." He accepted the dish numbly. "Mrs. Patterson, you saw her that morning. The police said you were the last person." "I've gone over it 1,000 times in my mind," the elderly woman said, wringing her hands. "It was just after 10 o'clock. I was watering my roses when Margaret came out. She had Molly with her, which I thought was odd for a doctor's appointment." "Did she say anything?" "She seemed rushed. Said something about construction making her take the long way, so she was bringing Molly along for the ride rather than leaving her alone for too long." Mrs. Patterson's eyes welled up. "She asked if I could check on Molly if she was later than expected. That's why I went looking that evening when I saw her car wasn't back." "The construction," Daniel pressed. "Did she say where?" "Maple Street. I think they were replacing water lines that whole week. Traffic was backed up terribly. I avoided that area myself." After Mrs. Patterson left, Daniel called the city planning office. Yes, they confirmed there had been construction on Maple Street from August 12th through August 18th. The detour would have routed traffic down Elm, then to Highway 47, a route that could have taken his mother past the forest road where her car was found, though it wasn't the most direct path. Back at his mother's desk, Daniel began examining her financial documents with fresh scrutiny. When she'd first disappeared, he'd done a cursory check. Her checking account showed no activity after August 15th, no unusual withdrawals before that date. Her credit cards hadn't been used. It all supported the police theory of a voluntary disappearance. But now he looked deeper. Her filing system was meticulous. Bank statements organized by month, bills marked as paid with check numbers noted. He pulled out the folder marked Household Services. There was the lawn service paid monthly, the cleaning lady who came twice a month, though that had stopped 6 months before the disappearance when the woman moved away. And there, a newer addition to the folder, Ashley Kovatch, Caregiver Services. Daniel stared at the invoices. His mother had hired a caregiver. She'd never mentioned it. The invoices showed bi-weekly visits starting in January, 8 months before she vanished. Services listed included medication management, errands, companionship, and light housekeeping. The rate was reasonable, $25 an hour, usually 3 to 4 hours per visit. He found canceled checks made out to Ashley Kovatch, all in his mother's careful script. The last one was dated August 1st, 2 weeks before the disappearance. But something was off. In the margin of her check register, his mother had penciled a question mark next to the July payment. And next to August's entry, she'd written verify amount. Daniel's phone buzzed. "Rebecca checking in. How are you holding up? Do you need me to come over? I'm at Mom's house." Did you know she hired a
Okay.
caregiver? A caregiver? No, she never mentioned that. She seemed to be managing fine on her own. That's what Daniel had thought, too. His mother was remarkably independent for 82, still driving, still maintaining her house and garden. She'd been sad after her friend Eleanor died, but she'd been seeing a therapist and seemed to be improving. Why would she need a caregiver? He studied the invoices more carefully. Ashley Kovatch's address was listed as an apartment complex on the south side of town. No company name, just her personal information. A phone number with a local area code. Something about those question marks in the check register nagged at him. His mother was precise about money. If she was questioning amounts, something had been wrong. Daniel gathered the caregiver invoices and check register. Tomorrow, he'd track down Ashley Kovatch. After 8 months of no answers, he finally had a thread to pull. Daniel was still studying his mother's financial papers the next morning when his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar but local. Hello, is this Daniel Brennan? The woman's voice was young, professional. This is Ashley Kovatch. I was your mother's caregiver. I just saw the news about them finding her car. I'm so terribly sorry. Daniel straightened in his chair. He'd been planning to track her down, and here she was calling him. Ms. Kovatch. Yes. I actually just found your invoices in my mother's files. I didn't know she'd hired anyone. She didn't want to worry you, Ashley said, her tone sympathetic. You know how independent she was. She only called me after she had that little fall in January. Didn't even tell you about that, did she? Just bruised her hip, but it scared her. She wanted someone to check on her regularly, help with the heavier housework. Daniel hadn't known about any fall. Another secret his mother had kept, probably not wanting to seem frail. I was actually hoping to talk to you. You might have been one of the last people to see her. Oh, I actually hadn't seen her for about 2 weeks before she disappeared. She'd canceled our regular appointments, said she was feeling better, and wanted to try managing on her own again. Ashley paused. Listen, Mr. Brennan, I still have a few of your mother's things at my apartment. Her spare house key and some medical supplies she asked me to pick up, a blood pressure monitor, some medications from the pharmacy. I kept meaning to return them, but after she vanished, I didn't know what to do with them. You have her house key? She gave it to me for emergencies. I should have returned it sooner, but with everything that happened. Would you like me to bring these things by? I could drop them off at her house if you're going to be there. Daniel glanced at the pile of financial documents spread across the dining table. Actually, that would be helpful. I'm here now trying to go through all her paperwork. It's overwhelming. I never realized how much she handled. Oh, I can imagine. Your mother kept meticulous records. I used to help her file things sometimes. Ashley's voice brightened. I could help you organize them if you'd like. I know her system pretty well. That's kind of you to offer. When could you come by? I could be there in about an hour if that works. I have the afternoon free. After ending the call, Daniel felt a mixture of relief and unease. Ashley seemed helpful, caring, exactly the kind of person his mother would have trusted, but those question marks in the check register still bothered him. An hour later, a silver Honda Civic pulled into the driveway. Ashley Kovatch was younger than Daniel had expected, late 20s, with blonde hair pulled back in a professional ponytail. She wore fitted jeans and a blazer that looked expensive. As she walked up the front path carrying a canvas bag, something caught the afternoon sun. Large diamond earrings. Mr. Brennan, she said, extending her hand.
Okay.
I'm so glad to finally meet you, though I wish it were under better circumstances. Her handshake was firm, confident. Up close, Daniel noticed her designer handbag and the Rolex on her wrist. For someone charging $25 an hour for caregiver services, she seemed to be doing remarkably well. Inside, Ashley pulled items from her bag, the blood pressure monitor, several prescription bottles, and a single key on a keychain with a small butterfly charm. Your mother loved butterflies, Ashley said, noticing his gaze. She had that beautiful garden out back with all the butterfly bushes. It was true. Such a specific detail that only someone who'd spent time here would know. Daniel felt ashamed of his momentary suspicion about her jewelry. Maybe she had family money or another job. Ashley looked at the papers covering the dining table. Oh my, you really do have your work cut out for you. Your mother kept everything so organized, but I imagine it's still overwhelming if you don't know her system. Especially the financial stuff, Daniel admitted. I'm not even sure what I'm looking for. Ashley moved closer to the table, scanning the documents. She was worried about money those last weeks, you know. Kept asking me if I thought she was being overcharged for things, if her utilities seemed high. I told her everything looked normal to me, but she seemed anxious about it. Daniel frowned. Worried about money? Mom had an excellent pension from teaching, plus Dad's life insurance and their investments. She was very comfortable. Oh, I'm sure you're right, Ashley said quickly. Maybe I misunderstood. She might have just been double-checking things. You know how careful the older generation is about waste. But Daniel's mother had never worried about money in her life. His father had been a successful insurance agent, and they'd lived well below their means. The house was paid off years ago. She'd given generously to charities, never haggled over a price, and had often said her biggest financial worry was finding a way to spend her money before she died. Here, Ashley said, beginning to sort papers into stacks. Let me help you get this organized. Medical receipts here. Utilities here. Bank statements here. Ashley's system was precise, just as his mother had described it. Daniel watched as she moved, her manicured nails, another small luxury, moving quickly through the documents. Ashley seemed to know the system, but her claim that his mother had been worried about money felt completely wrong, out of character. Still, Ashley was here helping, being kind, and his mother, a teacher for 40 years, had been a sharp judge of character. Surely she would have sensed if something was off. For the next hour, Ashley and Daniel worked side by side, sorting through years of meticulous records. She was efficient, helpful, and shared little details about Margaret that rang true. How she insisted on using her good china for their tea, how she'd worried over her tomato plants during dry spells. Your mother was such a lovely woman, Ashley said, reaching for another stack of papers. Some of my other clients could be difficult, but Margaret always treated me like family. Daniel glanced at her again, noticing a tennis bracelet on her wrist that glittered in the light. He'd priced similar ones when shopping for his wife Rebecca's birthday, at least $3,000. He dismissed the thought. Maybe Ashley had a wealthy boyfriend or came from money herself. It wasn't his business. These other clients, he said, trying to make conversation. Are they all elderly? Oh yes, I specialize in elder care. I keep it a small group, 3 or 4 at a time. I like to keep it personal, build real relationships. She smiled warmly. Your mother actually referred me to her friend, Mrs. Chun, down the street. Such a sweet lady. Daniel knew Mrs. Chun, another retired teacher who'd worked with his mother. He made a mental note to check on her, see if she was all right. As they worked, Ashley seemed increasingly drawn to the financial documents. Oh, here's her investment portfolio summary, she said, pulling out a fidelity statement. I remember she was always checking these, worried about the market affecting her retirement. Another lie. His mother had once told him she never looked at her investment statements, trusting the conservative allocation her financial advisor had set up years ago. The market goes up, the market goes down, she'd said. At my age, why worry? I should put these sensitive documents aside, Daniel said, reaching for the investment papers. Of course, Ashley agreed, but he noticed her eyes quickly scanning the numbers before she released them. I'll focus on organizing these medical receipts. There are so many. Your mother really stayed on top of her health. Daniel gathered the financial statements, credit card records, and anything with account numbers, creating a separate pile. As he did, he noticed Ashley watching him out of the corner of her eye, her friendly chatter continuing, but her focus clearly divided. I need to use the restroom, Ashley announced. Still remember where it is from all those visits. While she was gone, a cold dread crept up Daniel's spine. He looked at her expensive jewelry again, remembering the lies about his mother's financial concerns. If his mother had put those question marks next to Ashley's payments, there was a reason. He heard footsteps upstairs. The bathroom was on the main floor. What was Ashley doing up there? Daniel moved quietly to the staircase, listening. The floorboards in his mother's bedroom creaked, the sound of drawers opening. Moving quickly but silently, Daniel climbed the stairs. He found Ashley in his mother's bedroom, standing by the nightstand, with several papers in her hand. What are you doing? He asked. Ashley spun around, startled, but quickly regained her composure. Oh, you scared me. I remembered your mother kept some important papers up here. She showed me once when she was worried about. I asked you to stay with the medical receipts, Daniel interrupted. I was just trying to help. Ashley's tone shifted, becoming defensive. Your mother often had me help her find important documents. I thought I could save you some time. Daniel looked at the papers in her hand. One appeared to be a handwritten list of account numbers and passwords, his mother's master list for online banking, which he kept hidden in her nightstand drawer. Please put those down, he said coldly. Ashley set the papers back on the nightstand, her friendly mask slipping for just a moment. Something flashed in her eyes. Frustration? Anger? Then the pleasant smile returned. I'm sorry I overstepped. I was just so used to helping Margaret with everything. They returned downstairs in uncomfortable silence. Ashley quickly gathered her things. I should go. I can see this is difficult for you, having a stranger in your mother's space. Thank you for returning her things, Daniel managed, his mind racing. After she left, he went straight back to his mother's bedroom. The master list was where Ashley had placed it, but several other drawers had clearly been disturbed. His mother's jewelry box had been moved slightly. Nothing seemed to be missing, but someone had definitely been searching. Then he noticed the closet door was ajar. Inside, barely visible behind hanging clothes, was his mother's safe. She'd shown it to him once, made sure he knew the combination in case something happened. The digital display was dark, which was normal, but when Daniel touched the keypad to activate it, an error message appeared. Access denied. 3 incorrect attempts. Key override required. His blood ran cold. The safe would only show this message if someone had tried and failed to open it 3 times in a row. The attempts were recent. Only one person had been upstairs alone. Daniel's hands shook as he reached for his phone. Ashley Kovatch hadn't just been his mother's caregiver. She'd been stealing from her. The questioned payments in the check register suddenly made perfect sense. His mother had discovered something was wrong. He started to dial 911, then hesitated. What would he say? That his mother's former caregiver had tried to open a safe? Ashley could claim his mother had asked her to access it months ago. He had no real proof of current wrongdoing, but he knew with a chilling certainty that Ashley Kovatch was connected to his mother's disappearance. The woman who had sat in this house drinking tea with his mother, gaining her trust, had been a thief. And when Margaret had started questioning the payments, putting those careful marks in her check register, a sound from downstairs made Daniel freeze. A splintering crack, then the back door. He heard the distinctive creak of those old hinges. He'd locked it after Ashley left. He was certain. Moving as quietly as possible, Daniel crept to the top of the stairs. He could hear movement in the kitchen, drawers being opened, not the careful sounds of a stealthy person, but quick, urgent searching. His phone was in his hand. He should call the police, but the sounds were moving closer to the staircase, and if he spoke, whoever was down there would hear him. Daniel looked around desperately for something to defend himself with. His mother's brass reading lamp, heavy and substantial. He gripped it like a club and started down the stairs, trying to remember which steps creaked. The sounds from the kitchen had stopped. Either the intruder had found what they were looking for, or they'd heard him. Daniel reached the bottom of the stairs and peered around the corner. The kitchen appeared empty, but the back door stood wide open, afternoon sunlight streaming in. Several drawers were pulled out, papers scattered on the floor. As he stepped into the kitchen, lamp raised, a shadow fell across the doorway. A man stood there, tall, muscular, in his late 20s or early 30s. He wore work clothes splattered with what looked like concrete, and his expression was cold and purposeful. You must be the son, the man said, stepping inside. Ashley said you might be a problem. Before Daniel could respond or react, the man rushed him. Daniel swung the brass lamp desperately, but the younger man ducked under the arc and slammed into Daniel's midsection, driving him backward into the kitchen counter. The lamp crashed to the floor as Daniel gasped for air, winded by the impact. Should have minded your own business, Tyler growled, pinning Daniel against the counter with one thick forearm across his throat. With his free hand, he pulled out a pistol from his waistband, an old revolver that Daniel recognized with a sick jolt. His father's service weapon from his army days, kept in the bedroom closet. That's my father's gun, Daniel wheezed. Your mom showed Ashley where everything was. Tyler pressed the barrel against Daniel's ribs. Trusting old lady. Too trusting. Now move. We're going downstairs. Tyler forced him toward the basement door, the gun never wavering. Daniel's mind raced. This man knew Ashley knew about the gun, had clearly been in the house before. The pieces were falling into place in the worst possible way. The basement was finished, converted years ago into a rec room where Daniel and his sister had played as children. Tyler shoved him toward an old wooden chair near the water heater. Sit, Tyler commanded. When Daniel hesitated, Tyler struck him across the face with the gun barrel. Pain exploded through Daniel's cheek as he stumbled into the chair. Tyler produced zip ties from his pocket. He'd come prepared, and secured Daniel's wrists behind the chair back, then his ankles to the chair legs. Ashley's on her way back, Tyler said, checking his phone. You couldn't just let things be, could you? She said you were getting suspicious, going through all those papers, finding things you shouldn't. What did you do to my mother? Daniel demanded, tasting blood from his split lip. Tyler laughed, an ugly sound. Your mother did it to herself. Started questioning every little charge, going through her bank statements like some kind of detective. Ashley was careful for over a year, just small amounts here and there. But your mom noticed, threatened to call the police, report Ashley to Adult Protective Services. Daniel's stomach churned. His mother had discovered the theft. Those question marks in the register weren't just suspicions. They were evidence she was building. The basement door opened and Ashley's heels clicked on the wooden stairs. She appeared looking flustered, her earlier poise completely gone. His wife knows, she said to Tyler. They had dinner plans. She'll come looking when he doesn't show up. So we'll be ready for her, Tyler replied. How long do we have? Ashley checked her phone. He was supposed to meet her at 6 o'clock. It's 5:15 now. Plenty of time. Tyler turned back to Daniel. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give us the combination to your mother's safe. We know she told you. She told Ashley all about how responsible her son was, how you had all her important information in case of emergency. Go to hell, Daniel spat. Tyler backhanded him casually, splitting his lip further. Wrong answer. See, we need what's in that safe. Your mom had bonds in there, cash, her really valuable jewelry. Probably 50 grand worth, easy. That was always the plan. Build trust, get access, clean her out, and move on to the next lonely old lady. But she caught on, Ashley added, pacing nervously. Started documenting everything, said she was building a case. We couldn't let her ruin everything. The full horror of it hit Daniel like a physical blow. You killed her. You killed my mother because she caught you stealing. We didn't have a choice, Ashley's voice went shrill. She called me that morning, said she had proof, copies of forged checks I'd written, told me to meet her, or she was going straight to the police. What were we supposed to do? Daniel felt tears burning his eyes. His mother's last morning. She'd been planning to confront her caregiver, probably hoping to resolve it quietly, give Ashley a chance to make things right. Instead, she never made it to the doctor, he said hollowly. No, Tyler confirmed. Ashley called me panicking. We intercepted her on that construction detour. Used your dad's gun to force her to drive to the forest. Made it look like she went willingly. No signs of struggle at the house. No witnesses. Just an old lady who disappeared. You shot her. It wasn't a question. It was quick, Tyler said, as if that mattered. She was threatening to destroy our whole operation. The casual cruelty of it made Daniel's vision blur with rage. His mother, who'd taught thousands of children, who'd never hurt anyone in her life, executed in the forest because she'd caught a thief. The safe combination, Ashley pressed. We need it now. We've waited 8 months, kept coming back to check, but could never get in. That's our money in there. Payment for dealing with your mother's accusations. She trusted you, Daniel said to Ashley. She let you into her home, treated you like family. Business is business, Ashley replied, though she couldn't meet his eyes. I've got 3 other clients right now. All of them loaded, all of them lonely. Your mother was supposed to be easy money, if she hadn't been so damn sharp. A car door slammed outside. Ashley and Tyler both froze. That'll be the wife, Tyler said. He checked his gun, made sure a round was chambered. I'll handle this. No more killing, Ashley hissed. We get the combination and get out. That's it. You think she's just going to leave when he doesn't answer? She has a key. He said they had dinner plans. As if on cue, they heard the front door open. Daniel, are you here? Your car's in the driveway. Rebecca's voice carried clearly down to the basement. Daniel tried to shout a warning, but Tyler had already bounded up the stairs, moving with frightening speed. Daniel, is everything okay? I saw the back door was the sound of a struggle. Rebecca's scream cut short, something heavy hitting the floor. Daniel pulled desperately against the zip ties, the plastic cutting into his wrists. Minutes later, Tyler reappeared, half carrying, half dragging Rebecca. Her face was pale with shock, a red mark already forming on her cheek where he'd struck her. Tyler forced her into another chair and began securing her with more zip ties. I called 911, Rebecca gasped out. Before I came in, saw the broken door. The sirens were getting closer. Ashley turned white. You're lying, Rebecca challenged, her voice strained. Check her phone. Tyler grabbed the phone from her pocket, his face grim as he scanned the call log. She really did. How long? 5 minutes, maybe less. They're already in the neighborhood. Ashley's words were barely a whisper. The two criminals exchanged a look, a silent agreement passing between them. They'd killed before, but 2 more bodies with the police on the way was a bad idea. The van, Tyler decided. We take them both. Get the combination on the way. He used a pocket knife to slice Daniel's ankle ties, but left his wrists bound. Up. Both of you. Try anything and I start shooting. He pushed them up the basement stairs at gunpoint. Ashley ran ahead to get the vehicle. Through the kitchen window, Daniel could see a white van backing into the driveway. The name Marsh Construction faded on the side. Move, Tyler ordered, jabbing the gun into Daniel's back. As they stumbled through the kitchen, Daniel noticed Ashley had a blue tarp, the kind contractors use. His stomach dropped. They weren't taking them for a drive. They were going to kill them right here. Rebecca must have had the same thought. They're going to kill us anyway, she said to Daniel, her voice shaking. Just like your mom. Shut up, Tyler snapped, but his hands were trembling. In the distance, the sirens were growing louder. Ashley flung open the van's rear doors. The cargo area was empty except for some tools and more tarps. Get them in. Hurry, she yelled. Tyler shoved Rebecca inside, then Daniel. The metal floor was freezing through Daniel's shirt. Tyler climbed in after them, keeping the gun aimed at their chests as Ashley slammed the doors shut. Where to? Ashley called from the driver's seat. The same place. Miller's mine, Tyler replied. No one goes there. The van lurched into motion, tires squealing as Ashley sped out of the suburban neighborhood. Daniel and Rebecca slid across the floor, their hands bound and unable to brace themselves. The combination, Tyler demanded, grabbing onto the van wall for balance. Give it to me now, and this can go a lot easier for you. If I tell you, you'll kill us immediately, Daniel said. You're dead either way. This just determines how much you suffer first. The sirens were louder now, and Ashley was driving erratically, taking corners too fast. Through the small window between the cargo area and the cab, Daniel could see her frantically checking the mirrors. They're tracking my phone, Rebecca said suddenly. I have location sharing with my sister. She can see where I am. Tyler's face darkened. He grabbed the phone from his pocket and powered it off. Not anymore. But Rebecca smiled grimly. Doesn't matter. They can still ping the last cell tower it connected to. And 911 calls are recorded. I told them about the break-in and that I was at Margaret Brennan's house. They'll know exactly where to look. She's lying. Ashley called back, but her voice was filled with doubt. No, she's not, Daniel said, playing along with Rebecca's bluff. Cell tower triangulation. They're probably setting up roadblocks right now. Tyler struck him with the gun butt, but the blow lacked force. He was rattled. The sirens seemed to be everywhere, echoing off the buildings as Ashley weaved through traffic. Take Highway 47, Tyler ordered. We can lose them in the forest roads. That's where Mom's car was found, Daniel realized aloud. You're taking us to the same area. Shut up. Ashley merged onto the highway, accelerating past other cars. But as they crested a hill, a sea of red brake lights lit up ahead. Traffic was completely stopped. What the hell? Ashley slammed on the brakes, throwing everyone forward. Through the windshield, Daniel could see police cars blocking all lanes ahead, lights flashing. Officers were out of their vehicles, checking each car as it slowly passed. A roadblock, Tyler breathed. They actually set up a roadblock. Back up, he shouted. Turn around. I can't. There's traffic behind us. They were trapped. Cars ahead, cars behind, with concrete barriers on both sides of the highway. Ashley's panicked breathing was audible from the front seat. The forest exit, Tyler said suddenly. Before the roadblock, pull off there. Ashley jerked the wheel, cutting off another car as she veered toward an exit ramp. The van tilted dangerously as she took the curve too fast. They were now on a narrow forest road, the same one that led to where Margaret's car had been found. They'll follow us, Ashley said, her voice high with panic. She was right. In the mirrors, Daniel could see police cars peeling off from the roadblock, following their escape route. The van's engine strained as Ashley pushed it harder, but it was built for hauling materials, not for a high-speed chase. There, Tyler pointed to a dirt road branching off. Take it! Ashley yanked the wheel, and the van fishtailed onto the forest track. Trees pressed close on both sides, branches scraping against the vehicle. The sirens were getting closer. It's over, Rebecca said calmly. You can't outrun them in this thing. Let us go, and maybe they don't shoot you. Shut up! Tyler was losing control, waving the gun wildly. This wasn't supposed to happen. It was just supposed to be easy money from old people who had more than they needed. The dirt road ended abruptly in a small clearing. Ashley slammed on the brakes, the van sliding to a stop just feet from a massive pine tree. Through the front window, Daniel could see they were trapped. Dense forest surrounded them. There was no way forward. Behind them, police cars pulled into the clearing, forming a semicircle. Officers emerged, using their doors as shields, their weapons drawn. "Tyler Marsh, Ashley Kovatch. This is the police," a voice boomed from a megaphone. "Exit the vehicle with your hands visible." "What do we do?" Ashley was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "Tyler, what do we do?" Tyler looked at the gun in his hand, then at Daniel and Rebecca, and finally at Ashley. For a moment, Daniel thought he might start shooting, go down fighting rather than face justice for Margaret's murder. But then more police cars arrived, FBI vehicles, and a SWAT van. The clearing was filled with law enforcement, all focused on one battered construction van. "It's done," Tyler said quietly, defeat in his voice. He placed the gun on the van floor. "We're done. Exit the vehicle now, hands where we can see them," the megaphone commanded. Ashley opened her door first, her hands shaking as she raised them. Officers moved in immediately, pulling her to the ground. Tyler followed, tossing the gun out before emerging with his hands high. As soon as the criminals were secured, officers rushed to the van's rear doors. Daniel had never been so relieved to see uniformed police. They cut the zip ties and helped him and Rebecca out into the fading daylight. "Are you hurt?" an EMT asked, checking them over. "We're okay," Daniel managed, though his legs were shaking. "They killed my mother." They confessed. "She caught them stealing, and they killed her. They're both going away for a very long time," an FBI agent said. Daniel looked over at where Ashley and Tyler were being loaded into separate police cars. Ashley was sobbing, all her composure gone. Tyler stared straight ahead, his face blank. 8 months of questions, of not knowing what happened to his mother, and it all came down to simple greed. A caregiver who saw an opportunity, and a boyfriend willing to kill to protect their scheme. The harsh fluorescent lights in the police station interrogation room cast stark shadows across Tyler Marsh's face. He sat shackled to the metal table, his construction worker bravado completely gone. Across from him, FBI Special Agent Chun and Detective Rodriguez waited, digital recorders running. Daniel watched from behind the one-way glass, Rebecca's hand gripping his. They'd been treated for minor injuries and given their statements, but Daniel had asked to observe the formal interrogation. He needed to hear everything. He needed to know where his mother was. "We've already got you on kidnapping and attempted murder," Agent Chin said calmly. "Your girlfriend Ashley is in the next room telling us everything. You might as well give us your version." Tyler's jaw worked silently for a moment. His lawyer, a tired-looking public defender, whispered something in his ear. "I want a deal," Tyler finally said. "I tell you everything, and you take the death penalty off the table." "Tell us where Margaret Brennan's body is first," Detective Rodriguez countered. "Then we'll discuss deals." Tyler slumped in his chair. "Miller's mine," he said. "The old copper mine off Forest Service Road 12, about 10 miles past where we dumped her car." Daniel felt his knees weaken. 10 miles. His mother had been 10 miles from where they'd searched for 8 months. "She's in the main shaft," Tyler continued, his voice flat. "About 60 feet down. We weighed the body down with concrete blocks from my construction site." "Why hide the car separately?" Agent Chin asked. "That was Ashley's idea. She said if the car was ever found, police would only search that immediate area. So we dumped Margaret in the mine first, then drove back and buried the car 5 miles away. I used my equipment, a backhoe and a front loader, and piled logs on top to make it look like an old landslide. Figured no one would disturb it for years." "Walk us through August 15th, Rodriguez prompted. Tyler rubbed his face with his cuffed hands. "Ashley called me around 10:30, freaking out. Said the old lady had confronted her about forged checks, threatened to call the cops. Margaret told Ashley to meet her at the house or she'd go straight to the police. But Margaret never made it home. Ashley had a key. She let herself in and found the old man's gun in the bedroom closet. Ashley knew where everything was in that house. When Margaret called the doctor's office about the construction delay, Ashley told me to intercept her on the detour route." "How did you know which way she'd go?" "Ashley had been her caregiver for over a year. She knew all her habits, her routes. The construction on Maple meant she'd take Elm to Highway 47. I waited at the intersection with Foster Road and followed her when she passed." Agent Chin leaned forward. "Then what?" "I flashed my lights and honked. She recognized me. I'd been to the house before, fixed some things. I told her Ashley had fallen at her house, was hurt, and needed help. She followed me to a pullout on the forest road. Daniel closed his eyes, imagining his trusting mother following this man, worried about the young woman she'd tried to help. As soon as she got out of the car, I showed her the gun and made her get in my van. We drove to the mine while Ashley followed in Margaret's car. She must have been terrified, Rodriguez said. Something flickered across Tyler's face. Guilt, maybe, or just annoyance at the memory. She kept saying she just wanted the stealing to stop, that she wouldn't press charges if Ashley returned the money. Even then, she was trying to be nice about it. But you killed her anyway. Couldn't let her go. She'd seen too much, knew too much. Ashley had stolen almost $40,000 by then from her and the other old people. We were planning to run. Had it all set up. Fake IDs, tickets to Thailand, the works. Where are these documents? Chin asked. Storage unit on Riverside Drive, Unit 47. Ashley has the key. In the observation room, Daniel heard another detective radio the information to a search team. Within minutes, they would have the evidence. The other victims? Rodriguez pressed. Mrs. Chun, Mr. Walters, Mrs. DeFranco. How much did you get in total? Over 2 years, maybe 400,000. Ashley was smart about it. Little bits here and there. Forged checks, skimmed cash, sold jewelry they'd never miss. These old people, they trusted her completely. She'd help them pay bills, organize finances. It was easy to take extra, until Margaret Brennan noticed. Tyler nodded. That woman was sharp. She started matching her bank statements against receipts. Found checks she didn't remember writing. Ashley tried to gaslight her, make her think she was getting confused, but Margaret wasn't buying it. The door opened and another agent entered, whispering to Chin. She nodded and turned back to Tyler. The storage unit team just called. They found the fake passports, plane tickets dated for 2 weeks from now, and approximately $200,000 in cash. They also found Margaret Brennan's checkbook and credit cards you'd been holding on to. Tyler's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear again, but Tyler waved him off. Look, I'm done lying. Yes, we killed her. Yes, we were robbing old people. Yes, we were going to run. Ashley can cry and blame me all she wants, but she was the mastermind. I just did the dirty work. One more thing, Chin said. Why keep targeting elderly clients after Margaret's murder? Why not run immediately? Needed more money. Thailand's expensive if you want to disappear properly. And Ashley said no one suspected us. Margaret's disappearance looked voluntary. The cops weren't investigating the thefts. We figured we had time. A knock on the interrogation room door interrupted. Another agent leaned in. We've got teams at the mine. Cadaver dogs are alerting at the main shaft. Daniel turned away from the window, unable to watch anymore. His mother was in a mine shaft, had been there for 8 months while he'd hoped and prayed and searched. All because she'd noticed someone stealing from her and had the courage to confront them. You okay? Rebecca asked softly. They'll bring her home, Daniel said, his voice thick. We can finally have a proper funeral. She deserves that. Through the glass, Tyler was signing his confession, page after page, detailing the theft ring, the murder, and the cover-up. Ashley's confession in the next room would match it. Both criminals were eager to blame the other for the worst parts. But Daniel knew the truth now. His mother had died because she'd trusted the wrong person, because she'd opened her home to someone who saw her only as a mark. The teacher who had shaped thousands of young lives had been betrayed by greed, killed for money she would have freely given to anyone truly in need. At least now she could rest properly. And Ashley Kovatch and Tyler Marsh would spend the rest of their lives in prison, paying for those 8 months of agony they had caused an entire family. Agent Chin emerged from the interrogation room, approaching Daniel with compassion in her eyes. We'll have recovery teams at the mine within the hour. I promise you, Mr. Brennan, we'll bring your mother home with all the dignity and respect she deserves. Daniel nodded, unable to speak. After 8 months of questions, he finally had answers. They weren't the answers he'd wanted. There was no miracle, no mistake, no hope of finding her alive somewhere. But there was justice, and there was truth. And there would be a place to lay flowers and say goodbye properly. It would have to be enough.